Hello, everyone's Forest Focus. The international break was fun for 15 minutes while Morgan Gibbs-White was on the pitch, unless you're Irish, but it's over now and the Premier League is back as we go to Liverpool on Saturday. Can the Reds spring a shock or will their unbeaten run come to an end? Joining me to discuss all that, first of all, is Greg Mitchell. Greg, how are you?
Good, yeah. That was a surprising dig. Well, all right.
I wrote
You
that intro.
Irish fans.
Well, yeah, I wrote.
Shane's going to be like that now.
I know. I wrote it for Shane and Chris.
It's good to be on. It's good to be on with Emily as well. We've not been on for ages together, so I'm sure we can have a good natter.
It's the right panel. We need peak optimism, I think, for this one, and we've got the two most optimistic regulars. Emily Anderson, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very much looking forward to some proper football again.
Yes, certainly. So, obviously, Liverpool away at the weekend. We've started well, unbeaten. They've started very well. Won all their matches, played 3, won 3, scored 7, conceded none. We'll get into the specifics, Emily, but how are you feeling about this one in general?
Well, like I say, I'm really looking forward to watching domestic football again. I hate this. Well, I hate any international break really, but this one always seems really annoying because we've only played a few games when we go for the break. It was nice to be able to watch a bit of Morgan Gibbs-White, albeit for just a few minutes. How do I feel about this game? I'm excited because in any football game, any team can win. Liverpool have had an unbelievably ridiculous start to the season, haven't they? They've not even conceded a goal. They haven't got that new manager syndrome where they're needing to bed in. Arne Slot seems to have just started with all cylinders firing. We have a terrible record at Anfield, so you could argue that realistically we're not going to get anything out of this game. So there's next to no expectation that we'll get anything from any of the media or the pundits. So I guess that takes the pressure off to some point, although the pressure, I guess, is from the players, the staff and the fans who will go into that game thinking that we should hope that we can get something out of the game. I think that mentally and physically, it's going to be one of the most demanding games of the season. Every single player is going to have to be on point. Every single player is going to have to concentrate for the full 90 plus any stoppage time. And even then, we could be outdone by a world-class strike from anyone from Salah, Diaz, Jota, Szoboszlai. You know, they've got a ridiculous squad. So I go in hopeful, but you know what? If we come out with nothing, as long as we don't get absolutely hammered, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I am expecting us to lose the game, to be honest, but I think we can go there and perform. But Greg, you're always the man of optimism. If you look at Liverpool's start, I'll do the flip side pitch to that. They've played Ipswich away, who are a promoted team, Brentford without strikers, who we are probably going to be in the bottom half certainly, and a terrible Man United. So I'm not sure they've been completely tested yet. So do you give Forest some hope that we go there and really perform and catch them on an off day, we can get something?
Always have hope. It's 11v11. We've seen it previous years when Leeds went there and beat them. I think the year they went down. So there's always a chance, and we've got new threats that they're not, ready for or expected, with the likes of James Ward-Prowse. He could score from anywhere. So we're going to get opportunities. There won't be many of them, but when we do, if we take them, it could be anyone's game and walk away from that game with anything. And it's a huge result. They've not conceded a goal, but like you said, they haven't played anyone. Man, you are useless. It's not. They've not been tested yet, and we're a different side. We're a completely different side to what we were last year. And again, like most games last season, it was an improved performance against the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal, and there's no reason that we can't do that again. So pick the right side, get the right look of the draw, and you just never know. I mean, I'd love to get something, and there's going to be games this season where we go away from home and we get results that nobody would have expected, and this could easily be one of them.
I want to talk about Nuno's record against the big six, or some of the big clubs, when he was at Wolves, because it sort of gives us an idea of how he did and how he might go about it. It's not good, but it's kind of what you'd expect because, you're playing the 4 teams I picked are Man City, Liverpool, Man United and Chelsea, because they were the best clubs at the time when he was Wolves manager, 2018 to 2021 in the Premier League. 1-1, drawn 3, lost 8. So it looks bad, but that, that's sort of kind of a result, 1 in 10, something like that, a win, 1 in whatever that works out. I don't know, 1 in 12, I think. So it's kind of what you'd expect. The one win was famously at Man City. The draws were 2 against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge and 1 at Old Trafford. This is all away, Wolves away at those 4 clubs. The famous against Man City, 2-0 in 2019. Look back on that, and it was 0-0 for 80 minutes. Wolves sat in. Man City chased a winner. They gifted Wolves a goal on the break through a mistake. Willy Bolly was man of the match. Man City played 4-2-3-1 like Liverpool. Wolves played 3-5-2. And I guess, Emily, is that the template that we kind of have to look for here? Keep it tight, try and nick a goal?
I think we do. It's a totally different game to the 3 we've played already, where we had quite an established lineup and established formation. I think we 100% need to change it for this game. There's been an awful lot of debate across social media and on our podcast chat about which formation we should choose. I'm firmly in the camp that unfortunately we have just got to be super duper tight. We're not going to get a lot of possession. They are highly likely to control the game, and we just have to either wait for that mistake to make the break or a set piece. If James Ward-Prowse is playing, that gives us an immediate advantage. So I just think realistically, to get anything out of the game, there's no point as being open and doing what we did when we first came up to the Premier League and what the likes of Southampton have done and Burnley have done. I just think we need to keep it super tight. It might not be the most interesting watch for Forest fans, but imagine if we could nick a goal like Taiwo did back at the City Ground a couple of years ago.
Just slow the game down, Greg. Be streetwise, be niggling, be miserable. Not the kind of football you like, I know, but is that probably the way we need to play?
It sounds sensible. That's what they'll be expecting as well, isn't it? That's the only thing I think is they're going to expect that, and that's how every team's going to play against them. It's just so hard. As much as I dislike Liverpool, they're probably in the top 5 teams in world football, aren't they? So if you want to test early on, here you go, see where we are. But I just keep thinking to the threats we've got now. Finally, we've got people who can cross the ball in Anderson and Prowse if he plays, and there's going to be opportunities, and I'm sure we'll be setting up for those 2 or 3 chances and hoping we take one of them. But you just don't know. I think it's as much an unknown side for us in our own team as Liverpool's new setup is for them. So they're going to concede goals soon. Why can't it be on Saturday?
True. There's some fitness worries. We're recording this before Nuno's press conference. The main ones are certainly Bolly missed a game, Ivory Coast with, I think it was a calf injury, so we'll find out about that. Sangare didn't travel. I suspect he's fine, and it was like an international break injury where he's focusing on his work here. So Nuno will speak about that later. And a few players have travelled to the other side of the world. Obviously, Chris Wood, Sosa, the South American players, basically. Wood was playing in the States for New Zealand, so he probably got back a bit late. So that will kind of feed into our team lineups. We'll go through them. A lot of times this season, it's been really kind of easy to talk about this. We're all playing 4-2-3-1. They're all basically the same. They're all pretty different here. And there's loads of options, loads of different ways of doing it. And this is probably the game most where the manager definitely earns his crust, I think, because it's a big task for him. But we've, as ever, picked our own teams, and we'll talk through them. We'll start with Emily's. You mentioned, Emily, changing formation. So I'll just read through it, and you can tell us what you're going with and why. Emily has got Sells in goal, a back 3 of Milenkovic, Murillo, and Morato, who's obviously the new signing from Benfica right at the end of the window. Williams and Moreno as wing-backs, Anderson, Ward-Prowse, and Sangare in midfield. Gibbs-White in support of Taiwo. Some interesting names there, Emily, that I'll ask you about, but just talk us through your thinking.
Well, as I mentioned previously, I've changed the shape of the team from what we've seen in the first 3 games just to give Forest the best chance of getting something out of the game. I think defensively, back 3 with the wing backs means that we can still have that defensive solidity at the back, but also bomb forward with the likes of Nico Williams and Moreno. Packed the midfield as well, so that we can use those ball winners in Elliot Anderson and James Ward-Prowse. And Sangare, who's hasn't he made the most tackles so far for us this season? So he's kind of an easy pick. I feel like Liverpool could really hurt us in the midfield. You saw what they did to Man United, in particular Casemiro, the other week. So I think that's where the game could be lost or won. For me, I needed to get James Ward-Prowse in the team because we've got him on loan for the season for a reason, so he needs to be in there. And I have gone for Taiwo Awoniyi over Chris Wood for no other reason other than I think Chris Wood will be suffering from jet lag. I think he'll be tired. And I also think this, with not having the wingers in Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi, I think it's a better game for Awoniyi because he's really good at holding up play and bombing forward when fully fit, whereas Chris Wood sometimes struggles in those sorts of games. I've picked Morato over Bolly purely because I don't think he's fit, but I would probably put Bolly in place of Morato. Anyone else? Oh, and I've gone for Nico over Arne only because it's Nico's former club, and I just think he always does well against Liverpool. And obviously Moreno comes in on the left-hand side because I think he deserves a start, and what better game to start than against Liverpool?
So a few names to ask you about. I suppose Taiwo is one where a lot of people are going to say, well, why is he in the team? He's not the player he was. But we're going to need him, aren't we, Emily? And, there's certain games that are going to suit him. And like you say, Chris Wood, I don't know if this is a Chris Wood game because you're going to be isolated in this game and in that formation as well. So, Taiwo's not going to get any better unless we actually play him, is he?
No, and you can't write a player off in such a short space of time. He's had a lot of injuries. We know that. He had a howler against Newcastle. We know that. But we also know what he can do. And even if he gave us maximum 60 minutes against Liverpool on Saturday, we can bring Chris Wood on for the remainder of the game. And hopefully it will breed some confidence in Awoniyi, because the last thing we want to do with the player is make them lose all confidence they've got. We saw that with Sangare last season, and he's obviously started way better this season. We know what Taiwo can do. He has scored against Liverpool in the last 2 years, and if he kind of is given that given that nod by Nuno, it actually might just give him that extra bit of energy that he needs. And I'm happy to be proven wrong with it, but for me, it's a game more for Taiwo than Wood. And I know there's been discussion about, well, should we play with a false nine? But what message does that give to our strikers if we've got two strikers and we're not using either of them? So, I'm happy for people to disagree, but I would start Taiwo on Saturday.
And Taiwo has been away as well, but his second game was on Tuesday afternoon, so it was fairly earlier than Chris Wood's in Rwanda. So I don't know how long a flight back from Rwanda is. I'm sure the former government would, but I don't know how long it is. So we'll have to see. But yeah, let's see how Nuno goes up front. Probably the last one to ask you about, Emily, Olorena. I think Olorena would be in most people's teams. Nico's normally the one to miss out. So is that because you think you buy into the thing that Nico will do well against his old club?
Well, yeah, but also I don't think Nico's done much wrong either this season. And I'm not saying Aina has, but do you know what? It was a real toss-up, and I've had both of them in at times, and I just opted for Nico in the end. I guess the Liverpool connection just sold it for me. But to be honest, I'd be happy with either of them in that position, because I think Aina is great, and we know what he can do with the ball and interceptions. So it could have been either of them, to be honest. So it's a really close call. But for me, Nico retains his right back shirt.
Just before we come to Greg's team, do us a favour and hit like on the video if you haven't already. And also, the next game at home, obviously, is like light years away. They're right at the end of the month, Saturday the 28th of September, against Fulham at the City Ground. Straight after the match is Steve McGill, popular performer at the NAV, 80s and 90s mixtape, so get down for that. You can see, if you're watching on YouTube, pizza kitchen, barbecue, 2 outdoor bars, real ales, cask beers, ciders, and more, and cash accepted. A bit weird you have to put that now, but you do. So that'll be a good one to enjoy. And there's other entertainment coming up after other upcoming home matches, which I'll tell you about closer to the time. Right, Greg Mitchell, your least favourite thing on the podcast is when you have to pick teams.
Can I just say, like, all the comments for Emily's was so nice, and I'm just going to knock the comments off now because I can't bear to see them for mine.
I'll read it out. Matt Sells in goal. You've retained a back four. Nico Williams, Milenkovic, Murillo, Ola Aina, and then a midfield of Elanga. This is a 4-5-1. Sorry for people who are listening, not watching. So Elanga, Ward-Prowse, Anderson, and Hudson-Odoi, and then Gibbs-White, slightly more advanced than them. So 4-4-1-1, I guess, and then Chris Wood up front. Right, talk us through that, Greg. What's your thinking?
I wanted to play 5 at the back, but I think you only play 5 if Bolly's involved, and it sounds like he's 50-50. And I had to fit Ward-Prowse in just because we're not going to get many opportunities, and the opportunities are going to come from the free kicks. Now, playing a team without Sangare or Yates was just a big headache, but in the end, I just gave up with it and thought we've got to have our wingers on, got to get those chances for free kicks. I feel like that's how we win this game. We win this game by getting the biggest threats, and the biggest threat's going to be someone like James Ward-Prowse. So it's going to be tough. We pack out the midfield a little bit and just see what happens. I don't for 1 minute think this will be the team, by the way, and that's why I'm not a manager. But that's just what I came up with once you asked. And for me, you have to play Hudson-Odoi and Elanga. I think they've been our dual threat for quite a while now. I agree with Emily about Nico as well. Nico was the one for me that went in pretty much straight after the goalkeeper. I just thought he's an obvious choice. He will want to perform more than he ever has done, playing against his old team and having his ex-partners on the other side of him. So he plays, and Chris Wood over Taiwo just because of the injury concerns. And it was, again, another reason why I left Sangare out, because he got a knock. So that changed things for me. I think Chris Wood is better than Taiwo in the air. So if we're going to be getting corners and crosses in, he'll be a better option for that. But I think they'll share the minutes. There'll be like 60 minutes of one and 30, 40 minutes of the other. I think that's going to be our hope.
You've articulated that very well. People aren't burying it in the comments, particularly. I suppose Sangare is the one, or a more defensive-minded midfielder. You'd have to back Ward-Prowse and Anderson and Morgan to do a lot of work in that formation, I guess.
Yeah, and I think I saw it in the comments that Yates would be a good option to get you free kicks. I think he's the most fouled player in the league, wasn't he? Something ridiculous last season. So I'd probably favour a Yates over a Sangare, especially if he's got knocks. But for me, it was just, you don't leave out Anderson, player of the month. He's had a fantastic start, and you don't want to stop that. You need to keep that train going. And where does James Ward-Prowse fit in the team? Like, how do you drop players for someone like him, but with such a threat? Then there's a reason we've spent good loan money on him. We need him to play.
Isn't it great though that we're arguing over all these players, not for that we don't want them to be on the pitch, but that we do. And you look at, if you look at that formation, look at the bench options we've got. We've, for the first time since we've been in the Premier League, we've got a really strong bench. So, even if James Ward-Prowse didn't start, for example, or Elanga didn't start, or Callum Hudson-Odoi didn't start, they'd all come on from the bench, which would not make our team any less better off in the final part of the game. When we first came up to the Premier League, do you remember when we played Man City? They brought on Kevin De Bruyne as we brought on Jack Colback. I mean, how far have we come since then? So it's really nice to listen to you arguing over whether James Ward-Prowse gets the shirt or Anderson, and how do we fit them both in the team. But I think the only worry with that lineup is, where are your defensive midfielders, your defensive-minded midfielders? That's my only concern.
And not having the support at the back. But I just don't, if Bolly's not fit, I just don't think we play a 5. If Bolly's fit, then I think we do.
On Bamidele, maybe it could play.
He's not.
He's not played. He's not actually featured yet, has he? Apart from in the cup, that's my only worry, that he hasn't had the minutes. And I don't think Zach Abbott's anywhere near ready for a game like this. And I thought Morato was meant to be really good in the air, and I think he quite likes playing in a 3. So, but again, he's untested, isn't he?
No, that's true. That's true.
Put,
Right.
Put yours
Go
up,
on,
Matt.
Greg.
Get the attention off mine. It's not going down well as expected. Thank you.
Okay, I'll
I
put mine
like
up.
it, Greg.
I was really torn on two formations. I mean, I'll put this one up, which I put on Monday, and I still kind of stick to it. A lot depends on Bolly, like Greg says. I don't know. I
Yeah.
would be more reluctant to play a back three, and there's merit in a back four, which I'll come on to. But at the moment, I would have Sales in goal, Bolly, Milenkovic, Murillo, Aina and Moreno as the wing backs, and then a midfield diamond, which could become three across the front in front of the back defence. So it could be a box midfield, however you want to play it. But a midfield of Sangare, Ward-Prowse, Elliot Anderson, and Gibbs White in support of Chris Wood. And I was really torn on Wood and Awoniyi. Wood's got Wood's been fantastic for us. And if he gets a chance, he's going to take it you'd think. And like Greg says, from set pieces, he's been a threat. But I do think this game is suitable for Tyro if he's anything like. And only Nuno will know that better than we will, having seen him in training. And he'll have watched, I actually don't know if he played for Nigeria. If he played in the second game, he didn't in the first. But so 50-50. And like what I think it was Greg said, one can play 60, one can play 30 plus injury time. So they've both got a big part to play in this game, I think. And then I kind of think Moreno will come in. Sort of like he's been signed to play. So we need some experience up against Mo Salah. I think that would work well. I back Aina against him, against Salah as well as a good athlete. So not too many worries there about the wing backs. Obviously, Salah's gonna hurt us at some point because he hurts every team. So hopefully we cope with that. So that was what I was thinking basically. But I do think there's merit in just going with what we've been doing and just playing the same formation. And I'm cheating a little bit here because I've already done the opposition preview with a Liverpool fan called Josh Williams, who's a big tactics expert who makes a living out of writing about Liverpool tactics. So he knows his stuff. And he was saying about how Ipswich are the only team to have caused Liverpool problems all season in the first half of the first game. And they played something like this. And they got the front four to go man for man again with Liverpool's defence to try and pin Alexander-Arnold back, keep Andy Robertson back. So that would mean Chris Wood and Gibbs White occupying both defenders in kind of a 4-4-2 when we don't have the ball. Hudson-Odoi and Elanga would have to work very hard. And Hudson-Odoi doesn't track back, really. He doesn't do any defensive work, particularly for us. Well, maybe that's a bit harsh. He does less defensive work than Elanga. And I imagine that's a tactical thing just to leave him high. If we go with that, the front four there are going to have to work very hard. And there's a big onus on Sangare. I think there's a big onus on Sangare in this game, full stop, to deal with Slobosai and Jota, who drops deep. Diaz and Salah really hug the wings, so that allows space in the centre of the park for players to break forward. So, yeah, Sangare's got a big game on his hands. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I would start with the first formation and keep it tight for as long as we can. And then we can always go to the second formation if we're behind. But then the flip side of that is if Liverpool score, they'll manage the game and make it harder for us. So I'm talking around the houses and I'm really, really torn about it, I think. Any thoughts from either of you guys on that?
I like how it looks like a Christmas tree. Your second one where your Liverpool guy said it was a good one, that's only 2 changes from mine. So I'll take a little bit of solace from that. But you see that formation and it looks hard to get through, doesn't it? I do think we've got to somehow get the 5 at the back the more you look at it, but it would just it'd be a tough watch with a hell of a lot of pressure and probably 30% possession for the game. It wouldn't be an enjoyable watch, would it? But it's all about the result against a team like Liverpool.
Yeah, I think so. A few people in the chat, Emily, saying about Jota Silva either starting or coming on for his work rate. And like you say, I think players like that, especially Jota Silva in this game, the bench is going to have a role, isn't it, for sure?
Yeah, I don't see Jota Silva starting, but he could have a real impact, couldn't he, after 60 or 70 minutes? I mean, that lineup you've put out looks possibly like the one that we could see if Bolly's fit. I just think it's not for us. It's not going to be a pretty game. We're not going to win this game by playing pretty football. We're not going to get anything out of it by doing that. I'm still wounded by the the last time we played them at the City Ground when they beat us 1-0, was it in the 97th minute? I don't think I've ever felt so low after a game. And that was a game where, we talked about concentration and mentally and physically making sure that we're in the game. I mean, we just need to do that. I think the only thing I would do, and I'll stick with it, as I would start Taiwo over Chris Wood. But otherwise, that to me looks like the really sensible option, and that the formation that Ipswich used. I just don't think maybe our wingers are as defensively minded as we'd need them to be. So I'd feel quite scared about going in with a back four.
Other people in the chat, Greg, are saying some people are saying about Ryan Yates. He can work with Sangare. We've seen that. If you play Yates, though, who's it at the expense of? In that team I've got on that screen, it would have to be Ward-Prowse, wouldn't it? I guess.
Yeah, it would. And it wouldn't be surprised me if Ward-Prowse doesn't start, but he has had 2 weeks with. Well, I say a lot of these players. How many of them have been away? 9 of them. He hasn't had 2 weeks with them, has he? So, you'd think. I can't see James Ward-Prowse and Anderson not starting. And that's why it's such a great headache suddenly for this manager to have, this coach to have, that he's got to figure it out. And I do think we're going to see a lot of changes between home and away formations more than getting this settled 11 that we seem to get every week. I think there'll be sweeping changes week in, week out, just to adapt to whoever we're playing. And playing these so early on in the season, I mean, it could be a good thing, but you could chuck all the names in a hat and pick 11 out and chuck them on a sheet and make an argument for them.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I think like Nuno he'll have some kind of plan that's more detailed than we have. I'm sure, because he has to.
You'd hope.
Yeah, well, he's going to have to, because they're gonna come at us and they're going to press, and they're going to. If you can beat the Liverpool press, you've got a chance. And I hopefully with that midfield, we can keep the ball. Morgan's an interesting one. We haven't spoken about Morgan, Emily. Not getting minutes for England in the second game. He'll be a bit annoyed about that, which is probably a good thing, isn't it? I would say. Yeah,
it might. His testosterone levels will be high, won't they? He'll be angry. Actually, from a very selfish Forest point of view, I guess it's quite good that he didn't get minutes, because it means he's rested. Although I did spend the whole game shouting at the telly to bring Gibbs White on, just because I wanted to selfishly see him in his England shirt again. Do you know what? He'll come back with a new sense of vigour, though, won't he? Because he has got his first England cap. It is a dreamland for him. He says it's what he's always dreamed of. So hopefully he'll come back sort of a little bit taller, a little bit stronger, and the boss man that we know he can be. Another player in the England squad that terrifies me for the weekend is Alexander Arnold. I mean, how good are his crossfield passes? I mean, literally, it's almost like he's got a magnet to the player. So that really terrifies me, and his set piece deliveries as well. And also Jota has scored more goals, I think, against us than any other team. So he loves to score against us, so we need to keep him quiet. But you can go down the whole Liverpool team sheet, can't you, and just think, oh yeah, he's good. So yeah.
I did do one of the formations. Did you want to come in there, Greg? And then I'll do.
No, it's just that someone's put about the Liverpool injuries, and they have McAllister, Elliott. There's 3 or 4 that look like. I mean, Harvey Elliott's definitely missing, so they've certainly got their own problems. At least we've got a pretty strong squad to look at the minute.
That's a possible Liverpool team, from what I was talking with Josh on tomorrow's show. McAllister did come off the bench in the second game, I think, for Argentina, so he's probably all right. I mean, that team is ridiculously strong. Gravenberch as the number 6 is probably the only weakness, but then he's been really good this season. So, it's going to be pretty daunting. And, Cody Gakpo could come in. Darwin Núñez could come in. People laugh at him, but he is a good player. So there's no weaknesses there. Right, the other team I did do, the formation I have done, just while I was chatting with Josh, and some people have said about playing an extra man in midfield. So this is another option: 3-4-3. Bolly Milenkovic and Murillo, imposter Murillo. I'll put the wrong one in there somehow. Olarena and Moreno as sort of wing backs, but they play a little bit higher. Ward-Prowse and Sangare, and then Gibbs White playing tucked in with Hudson-Odoi on the wide left and Chris Wood up front. So it's sort of a 3-4-3. And the reason I sort of thought about that was because Hudson-Odoi would hopefully keep Trent Alexander-Arnold a little bit more honest and not let him get forwards. And Morgan can drop into midfield and make an extra man in midfield to stop them dominating and dictating the play. I don't think I like that one as much, but it was just another option. And it just lends to the conclusion as well that whatever we do, it's going to be very difficult. But any thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, who's that left central defender?
I don't know. Fake Murillo. Chubby Murillo. I don't know.
Yeah. It seems a lot higher, doesn't it? Maybe that's just the way that it works on the lineup builder. But I think that's my least favourite of the three you've put up. Gibson, when you look at those players who are guaranteed starters, Murillo, Gibbs White, everyone else in our team at the minute, has an option, don't they? It is a real tough one, but that's not my favourite out of the lot of them. It's still probably more favourable than mine, I'm sure, but.
No. Well, I mean, God, none of us are, claiming to be right. They're just options and things that we would like to see. I think you're right. There's not many completely nailed players in that team.
No,
I think
not at all.
I mean, I think Sells is at the moment.
And Milenkovic.
Yeah,
definitely.
Milenkovic is the other one, isn't
Yeah.
he? Milenkovic, the right Murillo, and Gibbs White for this one, I would say are definitely. I think Sangare will start, and I suspect Chris Wood will. But there's lots of other options around. The wing backs, both of them. Alex Moreno is a good-looking lad, by the way. New Felipe. So I think Wood will start. I just wonder about the wingers. That's a big decision for Nuno, I guess, Emily. Do you start the wingers and try and pose a threat, or do you start the wingers and worry that you might be 2-0 down after 20 minutes?
I wouldn't start the wingers as I saw in my lineup because I'd use Moreno and Nico/Aina to do that bombing forward as required. But equally, Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, they play their part, don't they? But I'd say out of all our players this season, those two are the ones that probably not disappointed me, but they've not necessarily been sort of reached their potential yet, I think, with what we know they can do. I'm just very much, I know it's really boring, but I just want us to keep it really tight. And I just don't want us to do what we did last season at Anfield. I know there was some obviously howling errors last season at Anfield when we lost 3-0, but yeah, I just don't want that.
Oh God, Matt Turner for the third goal. Oh my gosh, yeah, I've forgotten about that. Poor old Matt Turner had conceded another. It wasn't his fault. Another free goal for the US. I don't know if you've seen that one, but Crystal Palace fans already burying him. But that one wasn't his fault. But yeah, we've got a better keeper this time. Right, let's just take a word for our second sponsors for this episode. Home Move Estate Agents. I've sold 2 houses for Ben Sales, I assume, in the last couple of weeks with the videos that you saw. But no house to pitch this week, maybe next week. But if you are looking to buy or sell, then get in touch with Ben at Home Move Estate Agents. You can see his email address on the screen, ben@homemoveea.co.uk. And their link for their website is in the description for this episode. And they are, of course, 5-star rated on Google. So thanks very much for Ben for his support. Saw him at the live show. I think I almost stood on his dog, but he's still sponsoring us. So I probably didn't. Right. Any other business? Greg Mitchell.
That's coming out quick. No, for once.
Anything else you want to talk about, Greg Mitchell, before on this game then?
No, I'm just excited to get club football back. I mean, we've got another international break in 4 weeks, haven't we? So it's just good to be back, good to have an away game and a Saturday 3:00 kickoff, which is always a nice treat. So anything can happen. We're going to get those results and I can't wait. I just can't wait to be back at Anfield and having a bit more hope than you have from the previous year, like it always seems to be with this football club at the minute. And looking forward to it.
Anything for you, Emily, on the game finally before we move on to any other business? Have I jumped the gun for Greg there?
No. I think we just have to try and enjoy it on Saturday and not lose too much hope if it doesn't go in our favour. But how great would it be if we're the team to knock Liverpool off their pedestal and ruin their 100% record so far? I mean, highly unlikely to happen, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. I'm really, really looking forward to it, and very jealous of Greg, who's going to be at Anfield on Saturday. Make sure you're loud and proud, Greg.
I might be a bit hungover. I'm going to Dortmund Friday night, so busy weekend.
Oh, God. I was going to say you've got to look after Mikey, but you won't be able to.
No.
So, oh dear. Oh dear. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, we've got a couple. Greg spoke about 3 o'clock kickoffs. Only 2 of the next 4 games are 3 o'clock kickoffs. We've got some Sunday away games, haven't we, Greg? Coming up, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain with the trains and stuff, but it's just life of a Premier League football fan, isn't it? That we've all kind of got used to now. And I was on something last night with a Mansfield fan, and he was moaning about having the international breaks because they'd even got the 3 players out on international duty, so they missed it for the weekend. But yeah, it's just life and part of being a Premier League fan. It's not because of TV, though, is it? The Chelsea one, that's because they're in Europe on Thursday night, so there'll be a lot of that. And when we get there on Thursday nights, we better get used to a lot of Sunday games.
Well, you don't want to go back to the Championship for obvious reasons, but also they don't seem to have any 3 o'clock kickoffs anymore because of this
just everywhere.
TV deal.
It's absolutely everywhere. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Really not good. But
no,
that's why. I mean, I personally believe that the 3 o'clock blackout of games should be lifted. I really do. I've thought that for a while now. It's clear it's not going to affect attendance, as there's so many ways of watching games these days anyway, that why not make it official? People are going to watch them at home if they really want to. It's obvious people are doing that. So make it official. People are still going to turn up to the games because there's nothing quite like being in that football ground and you're hearing the goals and watching it. So just, get rid of that blackout. Modernise.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. All these games kicking off at like 12:15, 12:30. I think there was only 3 games in the Championship kicking off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday or something because they were all on. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Potts is busy, so that's one good thing from it because he's playing about 8 games in a day. But yeah, I don't want to go back to the Championship for many, many reasons. Right, any other business? Paul Morley asked, can we ask Greg about his maypole dancing exploits?
I know. I thought it was just going off the top of the page. I thought you just missed it.
This is, I haven't got a video because firstly, because I'm not that cruel, but Mrs. Mitchell is because she tweeted it out. Her account is private, so unless you follow her, you can't see it. Well, it was just a video of you doing maypole dancing. How old were you? 25, 30?
7. I don't know, 7, 8. It was me and my friend Craig Hughes when we were kids. Our mums were both very similar and chucked us into this, but it was great with all the girls. It was brilliant.
Sign of things to come from 7-year-old Greg Mitchell getting in amongst it. Right, any other business, Greg Mitchell?
No, not anymore. Thanks, Paul. I'm going to remember that one. But no, I haven't for once. Just keep being positive. Enjoy the season. Bring it on.
Anything from you, Emily, before we go?
No, not at all. No, I'm fine. I'm just I can't get the image of Greg maypole dancing out of my head.
It was my
living rent free.
Nothing really from me. Check out the live show that we put out yesterday if you haven't seen it already. Really enjoyed that. And then we'll be back tomorrow with Josh, who I mentioned, with the opposition preview. Very detailed, more detailed than this. We did a lot of formations today, but he really knows his stuff. So check that out. And then Saturday post-match show with Mark is back. He hasn't been on for ages. And then Richard Spray, who is often in the chat. He'll be on with Mark discussing the game in full, and then we'll be back on Monday after that. Good to have so many people with us by the end. 230 people with us right now, which is great for the end of an international break match preview. So do us a favour, if you haven't already, hit like on the video, do subscribe. You can become a channel member. Give us a good review on iTunes and a 5-star review on Spotify. I didn't realize how many Spotify listeners we've got. I was looking the other day. There's loads of you, so chuck a 5-star review on. That would be great. Greg Mitchell, thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoyed that. Good to be back with Emily as well. So hopefully we'll be on the post-match victory one.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so. Have you got a new on-air sign behind you?
It's just a different light. I'm trying to sort this room out. It does. It's got a remote and everything. I can change things and.
Oh wow!
Yeah. I had it. We had the Chase play at my house once, and I thought I've got to buy a light. So that's that. I just found it in a drawer, chucked it up.
The world of Greg Mitchell. We had a band play at our house once. So, yeah, different lives. Lovely. Emily Anderson, thank you very much.
Thank you. My life is so boring compared to Greg's.
I know.
I have
it's
no
good for
light.
Dortmund. Yeah, Dortmund on
I have no
Saturday. Anfield on.
Vans. I mean,
want
seriously, Greg.
I want boring. I'm getting old.
You're younger than both of us.
Yeah, by a long way. So shut up, kid.
Yeah. Shut up, Greg. Right. Have a good day, everyone. If we don't see you tomorrow, then we shall hopefully see you soon.